We continue now at the top of Daf Ayin Vav Amud Aleph Meseches Eruvin. This is Eruvin Daf 76a. Just going to bring up the last Amud graphic to see the case we're dealing with. The case over here is you have a house in the middle, you have two houses at the side, and then Chatzeros over here. Now the people who live on this side of the Chatzer, they bring their Eruv through here and they put it in the middle house. People who live on this side of the Chatzer do the same thing. They bring their Eruv in through here and they put it in the middle house. And the point of this situation is that none of these three houses are going to need to put any bread in for the Eruv, because these two houses are what we call a base shar. They're like a gateway to where you're going to the middle house. And the middle house, as we'll say, is the place where the Eruv is being placed. So therefore, it does not need to put any food into the Eruv as well. That's what the Gemara now continues. Zeh nasa base shar lo zeh. This house becomes a base shar for that house. V'zeh nasa base shar lo zeh. And this one also becomes a base shar for the same house. And tzoy, in the middle house, havale bayis shemanichin bo Eruv. That is the house where the Eruv is being placed. Ve'ein tzarech liten es hapas. And that house doesn't need to give any bread at all either, and therefore all three houses do not need to contribute to this Eruv. The Gemara says that Rachva tested, he wanted to see if they knew the proper answer to the following question, so he tested the Rabbanon as follows. Beis Chatzeros, let's say you have two Chatzeros, ubeis batim beineim, and you have two houses between the two Chatzeros, zeh bo derech zeh v'nasan eruva b'zeh. So the people on one side, they come through one house and put their Eruv in the further house from them. V'zeh bo derech zeh v'nasan eruva b'zeh. And the same on the other side, they go through that house and then they put it in the one further away from them. So kanu eruv olo. Does that work or does that not work? Rashi over here explains. Now the case over here is the people in the two chatzeros, they don't want to join with each other. They're not trying to connect themselves. They just each want to make their own eruv. Each one's making an eruv on its own. Furthermore, each chatzer did not place the food, the eruv, in a house that actually opened into it. Also base shar, but they took that house and they made it into a gateway. And then they placed the eruv in the house that it was opened into. So now, what's the halacha? Vada itarvayu base shar mashvinon. So now Rashi explains what the question is. If they're both considered a base shar, einachon mehen eruv, that's for sure not going to be good. Tahanosen es eruva bebeis shar tnan lekamon de'eno eruv. The halacha is if you put an eruv in a base shar, Mishnah says later on, it's not a good eruv. V'yitarvayu bias gomer. Now the same thing the other way. If both of them are considered bias, einachon mehen eruv, it's also not a good eruv. Shere bias zem mafsik ben chatzer le'eruva, because you now have a house that is a hefsik, it is a separation between the eruv and the chatzer which you're making the eruv for. You basically have a house that acts to disconnect the food, because that house is not part of the eruv. That house is disconnecting you from the actual eruv. V'hulo eruv ima, he didn't make an eruv with that house. Ve'ini yachol lahavi eruv l'socha derech bayis. You're not going to be able to bring the eruv through that bias if it's not part of the eruv that you're trying to make over here. So in this situation, if they're both considered base shar, you have a problem. If they're both considered a bias, you also have a problem. So that's what now. That's the question that Rachva had. Kanu eruv olo, is that a good eruv or not? Mima shvinu lagabe the high bias or lagabe the high base shar or lagabe the high base shar or lagabe the high bias. Do we say, for convenience sake, this is a base shar for the purpose of making this a good eruv, this is a bias for the purpose of making this a good eruv, etc. So Amrulay, so they responded to him, Shnei and lo kanu eruv. The eruv is no good. Manavshach, because you have to be consistent. Manavshach. I base shar mashvislei. If you're going to say these houses are considered a base shar, hanosein as eruva bebeis shar achsadrum arpesas. Halach is you put your eruv in a base shar or an achsadrum arpesas. Any of these areas, eino eruv. That's not going to be a good eruv. And bias mashvislei. And if you're going to say these houses are considered to have the status of a bias of a house, kamatal to lebias to lo ma'arivlei. It comes out that you're basically moving this thing through a house which is not really part of the eruv. So therefore, again, that's not going to work. Rashi says, "Kamatal kol chatzer b'bayis to lo ma'arivlei." Each chatzer is moving the eruv through a house which is not part of the eruv. So the Gemara now says, okay, if that's true, if you apply this monefshach and you say that you got to be consistent, either it's a base shar or it's a bias, what's the difference between this case and Rava's statement? Amar Rava, because Rava said as follows: Amru lo shnayim tzei v'ire volenu. Let's say a person says, they say to Amru Lo Shnaim. In other words, two people say to one individual. Okay, so two people say to him, "Save Irev Aleinu." They say, "Go make an Erev for us." Liachad Irev Olav Mibod Yom. So what does the guy do? For one guy, he sets up the Erev before Shabbos. Liachad Irev Olav Ben Hashmashas, and then for the other guy, he sets up the Erev Ben Hashmashas. So Ben Hashmashas again is a suffix whether that's good. Maybe Shabbos already started. So Zesh Irev Olav Mibod Yom Nechal Eruva Ben Hashmashas. Oh, then what happens? The guy who he set up the Erev properly before Shabbos, the Erev gets eaten Ben Hashmashas. Now, if the Ben Hashmashas was after Shabbos, everything is fine. But if it got eaten before Shabbos, you got a problem. The guy who he set it up in Hashmashas, the Erev was eaten after it got dark. Now, the eating part's not a problem, but the setting up was a problem. So in both situations, you have a suffix whether or not the Erev was good, because Ben Hashmashas is involved. We don't know if Ben Hashmashas was already Shabbos started or not. But in both situations, it's a reverse problem. In a case where he set it up before Shabbos, you want Ben Hashmashas to be Shabbos. You want it to have gotten eaten on Shabbos. In a case where he set up the Erev in Ben Hashmashas, you want Ben Hashmashas to be considered Friday. So you have the same iman of Shach. And what do we say? Shneim kanu Erev. We say we're lenient and the Erev works. So apparently we don't say you have to be consistent. We can say we're lenient in both cases. Rashi says, Shneim kanu Erev, alma mishum de Ben Hashmashas safiku. Since Ben Hashmashas is a suffix, you see suffix divreim lahakil, that by a situation of a suffix we go lakula. Ve'erev mi divreim hu lagave hai shenechal Erev Ben Hashmashas mashvin leilel. To the guy where it got eaten during Ben Hashmashas, we assume it's night. Ve'amin kvar kana Erev, the Erev worked already. Well, gave hai shiravala Ben Hashmashas. For the other guy who started the Erev Ben Hashmashas, mashvin and layom, we're able to consider it to be daytime. Vadayin havelishos liknos shvisa. So here you see you don't apply this kind of consistency problem, this miman of shach problem. Here we seem to say that you're lenient. So what's going on over here? Gemara answers, Hachi Ashta. What kind of comparison is it? Hasam Safik Imama Safik Lelia Lomin Kuramilsa. Over there, it's not clear. Nobody knows what's going on. Nobody's going to think, what kind of business is this? It's not Min Kuramilsa. People are not going to look at this like a joke and say, how could both be correct? Aval Hacha, but over here, the high bias, the high bias. Over here, if it's a house to this guy, it's a house for that guy. The high Beishar, if it's a gateway for that guy, the high Nami Beishar, for that guy, it should also be a Beishar. Rashi here says, Lo min kuramils, if it's not recognizable, it's not going to cause people to think that the words of the Rabbanon are like a joke. The houses are right in front of us. If you're going to say the house in this scenario is considered like this, and in that scenario it's considered like that, then already you're already giving a room for the tzedukim to argue against you. You're making the words of the Rabbanon like a joke. Hadron aloch hadar. We will return to you Parak Hadar. If you are enjoying these videos and this channel, please take a look at the description box below. You can see how you can support this channel. Certainly subscribe, like, and share. And again, take a look at the description box below. We're going to continue now. Parak Chalon, the Mishnah says as follows. Chalon shabein beis chatzeros. Let's say you have a window that is between two chatzeros, dalit al dalit, and it's 4x4. Besoch hasar, and it's within 10 tfachim of the ground. Ma'arvin shnayim. So in such a situation, that's a connection, sort of, between the two chatzeros. They can make independent eruvin. Vimratzu ma'arvin echon, and if they want to, they can even make one unified eruv. But pachos midalin al dalin, if it's less than 4x4, lemala miyud, or let's say that window is above 10 tefachim from the ground, ma'arvin shnayim, in that situation, the window does not connect them. They have to make two separate eruvs. Ve'ein ma'arvin echad. They cannot make one eruv. Rashi over here explains, only a little bit of the window needs to be within 10 tefachim of the ground. Again, ma'arvin shnayim shnei eruvin elo atzman ve'elatzman v'asurin zimza. They can make two separate ones. If they want, they can make one eruv. Imratzum ma'arvin echad eruv echad shi'itnu elo eruvin ba'cheres ve'eruv v'yiman v'yokeh echad. Pachos me'arba, less than 4 la pesach. Well, that's already not called a pesach. Less than 4 tefachim is not called a pesach. Lamala me'asar, if it's above 10 tefachim from the ground, nami, that also dilu kol hakosel eno gavoy yoser have a mechitz mal yas. If you had a wall between two chatzeros that was 10 tefachim, you've got more than a window above that. You've got an open space. That's still called a mechitza. Hilkach geshein klum and achalal b'soch hasara. If none of the open space is within 10 tefachim, lav pesach, that window cannot be considered a pesach. Vein ma'arvin echad, they cannot make an eruv erev together. Vasuro zu imzu derech rosh hakosel v'derech osochalon v'derech chorim ustakim. In such a situation, they will be aser one to the other. They won't be able to carry things from one to the other. Gemara says, "Leim tanan stomach Rabbi Shimon Gamliel." Let us say this Mishnah follows the opinion of Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. Damar kol pachas midalid kilavad dami. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel's opinion is that something that's less than 4 tvachim is lavad, not less than 3 tvachim, as is commonly understood. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says it's less than 4 tvachim, so maybe that's what the Mishnah is saying. Why does the window have to be 4 tvachim? Because if it's less than 4 tvachim, it's like it's closed off. It's like lavud. Gemara says not necessarily. Afilu tema k'Rabbanan. It could be the Mishnah follows the Rabbanan. Adkan lo pligi Rabbanan led Rav Shimon Gamliel al linyan levudin. The Rabbanan are arguing with Rav Shimon Gamliel regarding the halach of lavud. Aval linyan pescha, but when it comes to the halachas of a pesach, of an opening, afilu Rabbanan modu dika dalad al dalad chashiv ilolo chashiv. Even the Rabbanan admit if it's 4 by 4 tvachim, that's a chashiv pesach, that's a chashiv opening. Otherwise, it's not considered a chashiv opening. Pachas midalad v'chulu pshita. Gemara says, isn't it obvious? If you've already told us that 4 by 4 within 10 is the requirement, don't I already know the reverse? What do you have to tell me the reverse for? Of course, if it's less than 4 or if it's above 10, it's not going to be good. Gemara says, no, you know what the Mishnah is teaching us? It teaches us as follows. It's only a problem if the entire thing is above 10 tvachim from the ground. But if part of it is within tvachim, then already they can do 2 separate Eruvin, or they can join together and make 1 Eruv. And the Gemara says, Tanina lahad Rabbanan. If that's what our Mishnah means, that it's saying the same thing as the following Brisa, Kulo l'mala miyud, let's say the entire thing is above 10, but a little bit of it dips within 10 tvachim, or Kulo b'soch yud, if everything is within 10 tvachim, a little bit goes above 10 tvachim, ma'arvin shnayim, they can make 2 separate Eruvs if they want, v'imratzu ma'arvin echad, if they want, they can make 1 Eruv. Gemara now just asks on the Brisa, hashta Kulo l'mala miyud, umiksasu b'soch yud, amrit ma'arvin shnayim, v'imratzu ma'arvin echad. If you already told me that the whole thing above 10, even with just a little bit within 10 tvachim, is good enough to make 1 Eruv. Kula b'soch yod, umeksasu l'malam yod. If the whole thing is within 10 tvachim and just a little bit above 10 tvachim, mi boy, do you even need to say it? Why do you have to give that other case? It seems so obvious. So the Gemara says, Zu vein sarach lomar zu katani. The Brisa is a format of this, and you don't even need to say that. This is kosher, and of course, this other case is obviously kosher. We don't even need to say it, but we'll say it anyway. Amar Rabbi Yochanan says, Chalon ogul. Let's say you have a situation of a circular window. Everything we've been talking about now is a square window, 4 by 4 tvachim. So as the Gemara will say, we're going to do the math as we go on to the next Amud, but the point of this is to figure out how large does a circular window have to be to fit a square window within that circle of 4 by 4 tvachim. So the Gemara initially says, Tzarech sheyeh b'hakefo esrim v'arba tvachim ushnayim umashu mehen b'soch yud. You're going to need to have, first of all, a circumference. That circular window is going to have a circumference of 24 tvachim, much larger than the circumference, obviously, of a square window 4 by 4. The circumference, not the circumference, which is called the perimeter of a square window of 4 by 4 tvachim is just going to be 4 times 4, which is 16. Here, the circle is going to have a circumference of 24, according to the Gemara at this point. And then 2 of those tvachim need, 2 and a little bit more of those tvachim need to dip within 10 to get the square part, so to speak, within 10 tvachim. She'im yirva'enu, that if you would look at the square parts, nimtza mashu b'soch yod. With such a situation, you're going to have a little bit of the square, assuming you drew a fictional square within the circle, would be within 10 tvachim of the ground. So now the Gemara gets into the math. Mechdi, let us see. Kol sheyesh behakefo shlosha tvachim. Anything where anytime the circumference is 3 tvachim, yesh berochvo tefach. So then the width of that is going to be a tefach, meaning what the Gemara is saying is that pi is 3. If the circumference of a circle is 3 tvachim, the diameter is going to be a tefach. So betrezer sagya. So if the diameter is going to be a tefach, then it should be fine if you just have 12. What the Gemara obviously is assuming incorrectly, but the Gemara here is assuming that you're going to have a situation where the diameter should be 4 tvachim, and then you should multiply by 3. 4 times 3 is 12. Now, of course, the diameter of this circle is not going to be 4 tvachim because it's 4 tvachim, the squares along the side. The diameter is going to be the diagonal that goes through the square. Again, you have a circle here, and you're drawing a square within the circle of 4 by 4 tvachim. The perimeters, all the sides are 4 tvachim. Gemara now is thinking that means the diameter of that circle is 4 tvachim, which is not true because the diameter is really measured as the diagonal. Right now, the Gemara is thinking that the diameter is 4, so 4 times 3 is 12. Shouldn't 12 be enough? And we'll continue with this mathematical discussion in the next video on Daf Ayin Vav Amud Beis.